Oh, nostalgia, guys. Nostalgia. Sweet, sweet nostalgia. I love it. Anyway, hey there, guys. What's up? What's going on? It is Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another movie review. Guys, I am back. I am sorry for the 1 week hiatus I had to take. This is going to be the first video that I have uploaded since a week off that I have taken. I was shooting a feature, but I am done at the moment. I am now done. Past week was a bit rough. Sorry for the lack of videos. Sorry for the no videos. I am back now, and there's no other video I wanted to give to you guys than this review right now. I'm so glad this is my first video back. I am so glad I finally saw this movie because, man oh man, was I anticipating it. Guys, the movie review I have for you today is for Finding Dory. That's right, guys. I finally saw Finding Dory. It's about time. Yeah, Finding Dory. Pixar, they're back. They gave us 2 movies last year. They're giving us another movie this year. And it is a sequel to Finding Nemo, which came out back in 2003. That's right, guys. Finding Nemo came out 13 years ago. Boy, do I feel old. Yeah. A 13-year-old sequel. Screw it. I'll pay. Give me Incredibles 4 next. I'll do it, man. I will keep paying for these movies with no problem. Guys, Finding Dory, if you guys watched my I released a 2016 movie guide video at the beginning of every single year. Always do a New Year movie guide video. Beginning of this year, in that video, I gave you my picks for my top 5 most highly anticipated films of the year. And you want to guess what number 1 is? I know, that's right. Higher than Civil War, then Rogue One, Suicide Squad. My number 1 most anticipated movie of the year was Finding Dory. A lot of you guys are going to be like, really, Mike? Finding Dory, of all things? That was your number 1 most anticipated of the year? Well, I'll explain to you guys in a bit why that was. Right now, though, I want to get into the premise for this movie, Finding Dory. Guys, the movie is set, in terms of the premise of the film, it's set about a year after the events of Finding Nemo. And instead of focusing on Marlin like we did back in Nemo, we are focusing obviously on Dory in this movie because it's more of a personal story following her as she is trying to find her parents. That's essentially her goal in this movie. She was separated from them when she was a child, and she grew up trying to find them her whole life, and she obviously crossed paths with Marlin in Nemo and found Nemo with Marlin. Spoiler to the end of Finding Nemo. And now she remembers something about them in this movie. It triggers her memory, and she sets out on a journey to find them. But obviously, she's going to run into obstacles because she has short-term memory loss. That is her one goal. That is her one obstacle, and the one reason why she can't find her parents right away. So that is the premise behind Finding Dory. And guys, I think I made a movie news video when this movie was freaking announced, and I think I was like overjoyed. I don't know, I was so excited when they announced that they were making a sequel to Finding Nemo. Before I go any further talking about Finding Dory, if you guys watched my last random vlog, I talked a little bit about Finding Nemo and what that meant to me. I want to quickly, in this video, talk real quick about Finding Nemo. Just real quick, okay? Now, a lot of you are going to ask, Mike, why was Finding Dory your number 1 most anticipated of the year? Well, everybody had their most anticipated movie of last year was what? Star Wars, okay? Star Wars Force Awakens. The original Star Wars movies came out in the 70s, and then the sequels came out in the 80s. So everyone who grew up in the 70s and 80s loved Star Wars because they grew up and watched that movie, and that movie defined their childhood. Well, I wasn't born in the 70s and 80s, so that's why I was hyping The Force Awakens, but not like all those people, because that is a movie that's connected to their childhood. Finding Nemo was released in 2003, and I was only 7 years old when I first saw that movie. I was almost going to be 8 years old. I saw it twice in that summer of 2003. And I'll never forget the experience I had both time watching the movie in the theater. I watched the re-release of the movie in 2012 when it came out in 3D. I have the 3D Blu-ray here. I am a uber fan of this movie. I have the VHS. Look at this. I dug this out from the depths of my house. This is an original VHS copy that I tore to crap. This probably doesn't even work because I popped it so much into the VHS player when I was a child watching Finding Nemo. That is how much this movie meant to me. I collected stuffed animals from Finding Nemo. I went on a spree to collect every single one of the probably, 8 or 10 McDonald's toys of Finding Nemo back in the summer of 2003. That is how obsessed I was with this movie. All kidding aside though, guys, Finding Nemo was a movie that defined my childhood. It's not only one of my favorite movies of all time, it's my favorite animated movie ever made, and it's just an amazing damn movie. It's my favorite Pixar movie. It's the animated movie that got me into, it just opened my eyes into watching and experiencing movies. That was one of those films that did that for me. That is why Finding Nemo meant so much to me as a child, and that is why Finding Dory was my most hyped movie of the year. And I'll be honest, I wasn't even totally just out of my mind pumped for this movie. The only reason why it was my number one because it was a sequel to Finding Nemo. That's it. I wasn't sold by the first trailer. I didn't think the first trailer for this movie was that good even. I was getting kind of worried. And the fact that it's a sequel, I was worried. But because Finding Nemo was so good, I honestly didn't care. I wasn't looking for the movie to be better than Finding Nemo. I just wanted to see another story, to see where these characters were going to go next in a movie, and that's what I got with Finding Dory. That's right, guys. I loved Finding Dory. There you have it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It was great to see these characters and experience them back on the big screen in their own new movie, introducing new characters as well in 2016, 13 years later after I got the first movie and experienced it then. It just, that alone, that nostalgia alone, just meant a lot to me to see this movie on the big screen and to see them take these characters into new places and all that. That alone just touched me and hit me there. But that's not why I enjoyed this movie alone. And I'm not saying that this is by any means a perfect movie. Finding Nemo, in my opinion, is a perfect movie. Finding Dory is not a perfect movie. Finding Dory does have a few problems that I'm definitely going to acknowledge. I am not just going to sit here and completely rave about this movie and say it's the best and just rave about Pixar and everything, how great they are. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be genuine. I had a few problems with this movie. I'm not going to let nostalgia blind me or anything. I had fun with the movie. I loved seeing these characters back on the screen. I had 2 problems with it, but I still loved it. It's Finding Dory. These characters are back, and I'm so happy. No, all kidding aside, what really worked with Finding Dory, for me, 2 things that I think worked with this movie over the first movie, actually. I thought that the stakes were a bit higher in the last act of this movie. I think they were. The stakes were high, but it was in one confined little space in the dentist's office in Finding Nemo. Finding Dory, it's a lot bigger and broader and a lot more lives are at stake. That's all I'm going to say without spoiling anything for the last act of this movie, the last 25 minutes of this movie. So, that was cool. Second thing that I loved about Finding Dory that I think worked more than Finding Nemo, actually, was the humor. This movie was actually surprisingly funny. Especially for a PG movie. They threw one slightly inappropriate joke that the kids totally aren't going to get, but I totally picked up on very early on in the movie. It's a scene where Nemo's at school, and I loved it. It was so funny. DeGeneres is freaking hilarious. She kills it. She kills it in this role. She was born to play this role for sure. But that moment was so funny. Every single moment where Dory forgets something, I know that's a running gag. I know that's how it was in Finding Nemo. It's how it is in this. If you didn't like that in Finding Nemo, if that pissed you off, well, you're not going to like this probably. But it worked for me in that movie. It works for me so well here because she's the driving force of the movie. And because that's what's bent on the plot. That's what's running the plot of this movie. Her remembering. The fact that she keeps forgetting things about clues about whereabouts about her parents is what's keeping her from finding them. So that's what keeps the story all that more funny and engaging to watch. But whenever she forgets something, like literally 3 seconds later, she'll be like, what? Like she'll remember something and then somebody will bring something back up and she'll be like, what or something? And I just couldn't help but burst out laughing. It's little moments like that that I think are really funny. And I totally buy that her short-term memory is what's doing this. And a lot of people have said it's inconsistent and everything. I don't agree with that. I buy it. When certain characters in the movie, when fish say something to her, it'll trigger a memory and she'll remember something. That is how it works, and I buy it. I don't feel it's inconsistent at all. So the humor is much stepped up in this movie. And another thing that I loved about the humor and the fact that they didn't rely on a certain thing to add humor to the movie is the fact that they didn't rely on nostalgia and throwing character cameos in there to generate humor. They had their own sort of original like jokes and everything paved way into the film, and they didn't have a character pop, an old character from the first one pop into the movie in every 5 minutes or something, or they didn't have references from the first movie pop into and if they did have references, it's not like they were funny, that's just what's driving the story. But any of the jokes or anything were their own fresh and original thing, which is why the script of this movie is very, very good, because it doesn't have to rely or borrow or keep reusing from the source material of Finding Nemo to make it original and funny, and that's why it works, and that's why I had a good time with this movie. Also, the plot in general and just the stakes and what they do with the environments are so refreshing and different from the first Finding Nemo. The first Finding Nemo, they were in the ocean so much. In this movie, they're in this whole like museum habitat. There's this Marine Life Institute plot point that they are at for, I would say, a good 50 minutes of the movie, probably even an hour of the movie. They spend most of the movie there, and I love it. I love seeing these characters I love seeing them engage with the environment and meet other new characters. Dory meets a few cool characters, like Hank, this seven-armed octopus. I guess it's a septopus in this case. Dory meets a lot of characters from her past. Marlin and Nemo are on their own little adventure as they're trying to find Dory. Dory's trying to find her parents. It's just so much is going on, and it's just so entertaining to see these characters get involved in these like environments where real human people are walking around, and to see them do cool and crazy things in the environment, like take use of like cups or mugs, that people drink with, and use it to transport fish. I think that's so cool. I love how they do that with the environment. Or there's a great sequence involving a baby stroller that I thought was really clever and creative, and I was really engaged into it. And I thought it was actually quite thrilling to see, like, are they going to get caught by somebody? So it's those little moments like that that are sprinkled throughout this movie that brought back that sense of wonder and awe that I loved about the first Finding Nemo. It's like that scene from the first Finding Nemo when Nemo is on Mr. Ray's back, they're going to the drop-off, and this is like one of the first time Nemo is seeing like the ocean, not with his father, and Thomas Newman's score is blaring in the background, and we see all the beautiful, vibrant colors. I was there when I was actually under the sea in that scene in that movie, and I felt transfixed. I was like, this is a whole new world to me. I felt like I was actually Nemo, like I was in Nemo's perspective so damn well, because all that was new to me, and it was all so beautifully animated and colored and gorgeous. And that is what works so well about Finding Dory in a different way. I'm seeing all these new different environments, and they're giving me that same sense of wonder and awe that not only Finding Nemo did so incredibly well, but Pixar does so damn well with all of its frickin' movies, because they're just perfect. I still haven't seen a bad movie from them. I haven't seen Cars 2, Brave, or Bugs Life. Don't shoot me. So guys, I just loved all that. The screenplay was fantastic in this movie. I love what they did with the characters. I love the journey. I love the realization that our characters have. I love how Nemo and Marlin weren't just the side characters. They actually had a big importance into the story and into Dory's life in this movie, specifically in this movie. And I think they mattered very importantly. It wasn't just Dory's movie. I think that the voice acting is superb. Ellen DeGeneres, Albert Brooks, they kill it as they did in the first one. They got a new voice actor for Nemo, obviously, because the kid grew up. I bought it because it sounded exactly like the first kid. We have a whole bunch of new characters. Ed O'Neill plays Hank. We have Eugene Levy and Diane Keaton play Dory's parents. We had a couple other Idris Elba's in this movie. Dominic West. I think we have a great voice cast in general for the movie. Thomas Newman's score is just as beautiful and as mesmerizing as it was in Finding Nemo. It's so fitting, and it's filled with that just amazement of just the spectacle and the scope of the worlds that they create with this movie. And with, like, the literal world, and like the fact that these fish are small characters in this giant world. When they see like a big giant fish tank at the Institute or something, then the score and the music swell. It's just so perfectly done. I love Thomas Newman so much. Yeah, it's an excellent movie. The pacing is really solid. My only two complaints with Finding Dory, only two problems. I feel that we got too quickly involved into the main plot of the story in the beginning of the movie. I wanted another beat or two with Dory, Nemo, and Marlin before we go to school and before Dory starts remembering about her parents. I wanted just a little bit of breathing room. Like, I wanted to see more of the sea again. I don't know. That's just me. So I wanted a little bit of breathing room there in the beginning, and in the end of the movie, I felt that right at the end of this big, like, chase sequence, I'll call it a chase sequence, we cut to, there's the song that plays without spoiling anything, and we cut to black. Then we go into the last scene of the movie. The last scene in the movie, when that happened, I thought it was still the same scene that we were in, and I was like, whoa, we got into that last scene out of nowhere. It took me about 40 seconds to realize it was another scene, probably set about, I don't know, a couple days after the main plot of the movie. And that was jarring. I felt we needed just a few shots even. Right before that cut to black. That's just one. It's just getting specific with things. So I think just those are two kind of like pacing issues that I have with the movie. The movie does feel long, and it does feel like the resolution just keeps going and going, and it's elongated. But I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't want the movie to end. I love these damn characters. What do you want from me? That was another thing. I enjoyed the new characters we got introduced to. I enjoyed Dory's story, her arc, her realization, the other characters' realizations. It's really powerful. Pixar always knows how to give you such a heartbreaking and heartfelt story that tears you up inside. It makes you feel upset and sad, but makes you feel good at the same time, and rewarding, as they always give us with their fantastic stories. Props to Andrew Stanton, who directed this and the first one, of course. Good job, sir. And I love the animation. Do I even have to get into it? It's gorgeous. It looks gorgeous. It's freaking Finding Dory. The worlds, the colors. It's beautiful. It's Pixar. They know what they're doing. Also, two things. Do not get up from your seat before the credits end. There is a post-credit scene that you will love so much if you watch the first Finding Nemo film. Please do not leave after the end of the credits. Stay to the end. And there is one cameo that I totally wasn't expecting from the first one. It happens, it's not that it's subtle. It happens right in the end. I burst out laughing. I felt like a little kid again, right when this group of characters comes back in the end of the movie. That's all I'm going to say. Guys, I had such a fun time with Finding Dory. I did lay out my problems with it, but I am not going to give it a perfect score because it's not a perfect movie, and I'm just going to state that as a fact. It's not. Pixar's made great sequels with the Toy Story films. I don't think they've made bad sequels. I haven't seen Cars 2. But of course it's not better than the original film because it's the original film. 90% of the time, the sequel is never better than the original. 90% of the time. And I'm fine, in this case, I'm fine with it not being better because it's Finding Nemo. But Finding Dory is still an amazing time. You're going to have a blast with it. It's adventurous, it's risky, it's humorous, it's fun. That the whole family can have together at the theater, and it is a movie I think kids should see because I want this to be their animated movie when they're growing up. That is Finding Dory for you guys. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. Not perfect, but I am going to give Finding Dory a solid grade of a 9 out of 10 or an A minus. I definitely recommend you guys check it out if you are fans of Pixar, if you're fans of Finding Nemo. Yeah, it's a must-see. It's a must-see. I highly, highly recommend. Guys, oh boy, that was a lot of talking. This is probably a long video. I don't care. I love Finding Dory. Guys, what did you think of Finding Dory? Let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the movie. If you've seen it, what are your thoughts on Finding Nemo? What's your favorite Pixar movie? Let me know down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. The short film, even before Finding Dory, was also very good. It's called Piper. Enjoy it. Enjoy Finding Dory. Please watch it this weekend. It deserves money for sure. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.